And we will reconvene in open session for tonight's regular scheduled school board meeting on September 11th. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, and I would just remind everybody of the importance of today when you're saying the Pledge of Allegiance and taking your moment of silence. If you can, please stand up. Danny, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. All right. All right, so we're ready for certification of closed session.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, and the actions coming out of closed session.
Mr. Chairman, there are several. What I'd like to do is propose, since there are a couple of abstentions. The first are those that I believe all board members would like to vote on, and those are, and I recommend those as discussed in closed session, student discipline cases 9A, 9C through 9F.
Yes, sir, that's what I have. All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. All right, I have a motion and a second to approve student cases 9A, 9 and 9C through 9F. There is no discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. We have, is it 9B next?
9B is the next. I recommend as discussed and presented in closed session.
I'll entertain a motion to approve 9B.
I recommend we approve 9B as presented in closed session.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second to approve 9B as discussed in closed session. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Abstain.
Two abstentions? Or just
No, sir. I
Chair
voted
votes
aye.
chair votes aye, one abstention. Sorry, James, Mr. Kelly, I couldn't hear you.
And then last would be student discipline case 9G as presented and discussed in closed session.
I move we approve case 9G as presented. I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve student case 9G as presented in closed session. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Chair votes aye. All right.
Were you able to hear me there?
Yes, sir, I got you.
Thank you.
Now we're on to the adoption of the agenda. Is there any changes that you all would like to make to the agenda tonight?
Yes, I need to add, under section 12, action items, 12D, which is approval of superintendent contract.
All right, we have a motion to add under action items 12D as in Delta, approval of superintendent's contract. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to add item 12D under action items, the approval of the superintendent's contract. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing no discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any other motions to change the agenda before we adopt it? All right, I need a motion to adopt the agenda with the addition of 12D.
I move we adopt the agenda with the addition of 12D.
All right,
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second to adopt the new agenda with 12D, approval of superintendent's contract. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. All right, we're on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled separately from the consent agenda? Dr. Kelly, anything we need to pull from the consent
No.
agenda?
No, thank you.
All right. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented on the packet tonight.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, hearing no discussion. All those in favor of approving tonight's consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. All right, now we were on to delegations. The Abrams project update, and I think I just saw him walk in.
hallway.
Yep, there he is.
Did, okay. Well, as board members, as we have two items in the delegations, as Mr. Bowers is coming in transitioning, let me just take a moment to address the second one. We've been through a great process at the high school of accepting applications and interviewing 12 outstanding students, juniors and seniors at the high school who have applied to be the student representative to the school board this year. And after conducting those and in accordance with the policy, we have chosen one who has agreed to be your student representative. His name is Ethan Ritchie. He's a senior. He's an exceptional young man. He had a previous engagement tonight. There's a lot going on at the high school tonight with activities, sports, cross country. So he wasn't able to be here, but he will be with you next month. And I'm really excited to introduce him to you. He did give me some words to share with you, so I'll share those on behalf of Ethan. And Mrs. Grasser was involved in interviewing Ethan as well, and she can certainly speak to him. We think he's going to be a really great addition to your work on behalf of the students. He's someone who's taken a wide variety of academic coursework, CTE, honors, AP. He spent a lot of his time with a lot of different populations among the demographics at the school, enabling him to really have a good understanding of where the student body is, what kinds of concerns they have, what kinds of things that are really going well for them. And he believes that's going to make him, and we agree, a really effective representative and liaison between the board and the student body. And he also really desires to pursue a career after graduating in public administration. So I think this is going to be a really good experience for him. Ethan Ritchie, I'm excited to introduce him to you next month. And I will tell you that just as a point of interest, the 11 students who were not selected, I'm working with Mrs. Bruce to put together a student superintendent advisory committee that I can begin to meet with regularly at the high school and beginning with those students. I'm really excited about that too, and I'll keep you updated on how that goes. Ethan's plans are to attend UVA, and I support that. I'm a Hokie, but I do support it very much. And I want to get behind him and really looking forward to that work. So excited to introduce him. Mr. Bowers, please come join us. And he's going to give us an update on the work that has continued with the renovation of Abrams Academy. This also appears in your CIP update. So we're kind of killing two birds with one stone, I think. But thanks so much for being here.
Yes, I thought I was arriving 15 minutes early, and obviously I was arriving just on time.
It's okay. You did indeed.
Well, good evening. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about where we are with the current project, which is the first option. So if you remember from our previous board meetings, we talked about going from the larger overall project down to kind of more bite-sized pieces. What you see in front of you is the project that our goal is to not exceed $2.2 million, which is the cash you have available for this project. So based on our initial findings on the building itself, and we're doing some additional survey, is that we don't see any issues with any structural, because again, the things that we're doing, the metal stud walls with the gypsum wall board is intended not to add weight to it. Plus also as you look at future use, you can remove this, it is a very durable item, but as you move forward and say, hey, we'd like to turn this into another function, or we'd like to open up these two classrooms into one big classroom, you can do that without a whole lot of stress. So one thing that we are going to be proposing as we move forward is the toilet rooms So there's some funkiness with both the student and the faculty toilet rooms, that they're not exactly the most awesome. If you've been in the building, they kind of have two, both boys and, they have adults, men's and women's toilet rooms, and really only one of them is being used. We're gonna propose that we use floor to ceiling partitions for those to close them off. But also, as we look at the ones for the students, is to either use a metal stud partition with a wood door, or to go with a floor to ceiling partition in there. And again, part of that is the weight of it. Is to not use concrete block, because if we're doing one in the high school or the middle school, we would propose to do concrete block. We think the weight is gonna be too much, and that would add too much cost to the project. So I think from a schematic design standpoint, we're doing well. But at this point, we don't see any unforeseen cost that is going to add to the project. So we feel confident that we're gonna be able to get the nice secure entrance, be able to give you the 7 classrooms, plus the additional 4 as an alternate, in hopes that the 4 which are in orange on the left-hand side, that we're able to do them as part of the project. We're gonna be bidding them as an alternate. Right now, there are 2 classrooms, we're gonna divide them into 4. But so the goal is to have them as part of the base bid. So as HVAC wise, electric wise, I think we're in pretty good shape, and instead of plumbing wise. Do we have the other 2 phases? I don't know if that was discussed previously. So really quickly, sorry.
I believe we do.
I
Oh,
see
okay,
them
you
up
got it.
there.
Thank you.
So one of the things that was asked was to look at in the future. Okay, so if we can do, phase 1, what does phase 2 and phase 3 look like? So what we propose is that phase 2, we're trying to do these in blocks, would be to renovate the multi-purpose room and give you 3 additional offices. So as far as phase 1 goes, we're doing 3 offices. Going into phase 2, we would have 6 offices total, giving 1 for each faculty member. And then renovating the multi-purpose room and the stage. And then as we look at phase 3, which is the final phase, then we're moving over to the right, that would renovate the faculty workroom, the conference room, and also give and renovate the space for the CTE food service lab type of space. So what we're trying to intentionally do is give you your immediate needs, for the 2.2 million. And then do the other blocks of renovation in pieces, as opposed to just being all scattered all over the place. And we feel this would be a very, very good path as you're looking for the future CIP, and try to share with the county what the costs could be going into the future on what that would look like. Because again, we believe that no one was comfortable with jumping and biting off the entire thing in one piece. So we're giving you in more bite-sized manageable pieces. So that's kind of say where we are. So we think we're moving along healthy. So we do have to come back to the building and do some additional survey. One thing I do want to point out is there are a couple items that are not really included in the phasing, because they don't really fit necessarily in any of the phases. So one of them is the roof. So you have the pitched roof, which is part of the original building, and you have the flat roof, which is the addition. It's been maintained well. I said your custodial and maintenance staff have done really well with maintaining the building. But the building had a spray foam roof added on, and it has about a 10-year lifespan, and you're getting close, to it. Now it can be patched, and the group is just out of Charlottesville. They can do the repairs. But you may want to look at that, whether it's phase 1, 2, or 3. I said we don't right now have the money for phase 1. And then as we look at some technology equipment. There's just some pieces, the brick repair, that were not really included in any of the phases, because you may decide, hey, we want to do this as a singular capital project that has nothing to do with the phase. Or we may find that there's additional funds and you want to be able to do it earlier than later. So those costs are shown off to the bottom right on the sheets. And so they're not specifically assigned to any one of the phases, because they don't really necessarily fit in any of the phases per se. So any questions, comments, thoughts? Are we flowing in the right direction as far as what the board's thinking, what the superintendent's thinking?
I believe so. Members, questions?
I think I'm aligned on this. For Dr. Stribling, do we have any of these items included in our CIP plan for the next couple of years?
Yeah, Dr. Kelly, Dr. Stribling is not here, but I'm going to present those on his behalf, and they are represented in there.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Did Dr. Shibling, I have your window minimized. Is he just out of the room for the moment or gone for the evening?
No, he had to step away for the evening.
Okay, thank you.
All right, my question.
Yes, sir.
Just for informational purposes, how much liability is Fluvanna County Public Schools with you guys so far,
Liability, I hope you don't have any liability. We're like to share a lot.
money wise?
So far, Fluvanna County Public Schools has not expended any dollars towards our fee. We will be working on a contract because what I can't do is I can't do design for free, so we will be negotiating that, through the superintendent, through the board. One thing I do want to keep in mind, that is included in the cost. When we look at the soft costs, okay, a portion of that is contingency and permitting and other costs. So this is not on top of the dollars that you're seeing here. Our fee is not on top of those dollars, it's included in those total figures. But as of right now, Fluvanna County Public Schools has not paid us anything.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rittenhouse, this money, this 2.2 has already been allocated to the schools. So we would not need to request additional funds to do this. Do you have concerns or considerations that would lead you to think we would need to stop work for some reason?
Well, just my opinion, I went to that school. I don't know if anybody else in this classroom did. Some back there may have. But, everybody's seen the movie Money Pit, to me, you're putting good money after bad. I don't know if it's worth putting the money into the school, but that's just my opinion.
So is your opinion that we would cease to update and support this building? Is that what I'm hearing?
Have you been through the whole building, James, in the basement?
Many times.
Well, I'd suggest everybody in here go through the building, look in the basement, see what's down there, but some places down there is quarantine, you can't even go in those rooms, but that's just my thoughts.
We've appreciated the process that you've led, the way you've engaged the community, and appreciate the ongoing communication. We're excited about the work and through the next step.
Okay.
I don't have any additional questions.
Anybody else? Any questions?
No, thank you so much. And thanks for working within our allocated budget.
All right, we'll give you an update as soon as you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on that, Dr. Ritz?
No, sir.
All right, now we were on to public comment. And it's our first round of public comment for tonight's meeting. Any Fluvanna County citizen or employee of the Fluvanna County Public School System is welcome to speak and the expectations are that you address the board, not individual board members, that you provide your name, address, voting district, that you do not exceed 3 minutes and that time is up on the televisions, and that you are respectful. The board will not interact with you during public comment, but you're welcome to ask us questions directly following the meeting. And there will be a second opportunity for public comment later on this evening. And I only have 2 people signed up, but that doesn't mean you can't speak afterwards. First on the list is Georgiana Jocelyn.
My name is Georgiana Jocelyn from the Cunningham District. I'm speaking here tonight because as proven both past actions and current circumstances, y'all as a school board may not be hearing or comprehending what your constituents are trying to say, but others in this community are. They may not be as vocal as we are here, but they are listening and they are responding in many ways to what is happening here. Frustrated parents and community members are tired of playing word games. We are tired of being called names and publicly shamed for trying to stand up for what we believe in. Parents and community members tried to go through the proper channels by speaking up when they first heard about something they were uncomfortable with at a PTO meeting weeks ago. They then emailed the administration and the principal with their concerns. They started putting together their own baskets to donate for the Central Fall Festival, so the school wouldn't suffer a financial loss if one happened to be pulled due to our concerns. That article that y'all are referring to in your videos was timed to be released the morning of September 4th. And I'll admit my emotions took over and made me edit some of the wording as the news in Georgia unfolded before it was published. The response from both sides of the aisle has been overwhelming. What we are trying to do here is to look after the kids. That's all. Whether you agree with us or not, and whether you think our concerns are valid or not, we feel they are. and we feel they need to be heard and addressed by the people that we address them to. We do not deserve to have an elected official publicly call us out as an embarrassment and to be told that our behavior is abhorrent and disgusting because we have a belief that differs from his. This is just the latest such incident. Parents and community members have previously been called many such things by some of our school board members, such as pedophiles, lunatics, authoritarians, liars, Antifa, crazy, embarrassments, disgusting, wizards, and hens. I like the last two of those so much I got the t-shirt. Recently, the news media has reached out regarding this story. Is this the kind of attention Fluvanna County Public Schools wanted? Probably not. Will this drive the sales for a certain hunting company? Most definitely. You can't buy this kind of advertising. But that's exactly what we don't want for a school setting. By all means, support this company and buy their merchandise if you want to. I hear it is excellent quality. But this is not personal, and this is not about a logo. This is only about parents and community members believing that a name brand that is intrinsically associated with manufacturing of firearms should not be involved in a school-sponsored event. Thank you.
All right, next up is Ashley Crocker.
My name is Ashley Crocker, and I live in the Fort Union District. When we went back to school shopping this year, my daughter found these amazing light-up rainbow shoes. She showed them to me, bouncing up and down with excitement to get them for her big first grade class. But I had to say no to those shoes, and I wasn't sure how to explain to her that someone might come to her school and try to kill her with a gun, and those shoes would give her away her hiding spot. So I made up an excuse about why she couldn't have them. My heart broke seeing the sparkle go out of her eyes when I told her she had to pick something else. Every morning I park my car and I walk my 6-year-old to the front door of Central Elementary. She holds my hand as I cross the street, but she lets go when she sees the other kids because it's not cool to hold hands with your mom. As she bounces happily into her school, ready to go find her friends, I try to memorize everything about her. I try to memorize the way her hand felt in mine just a few seconds before. I memorize how her sweet voice sounds as she says, "Bye, Mom." I memorize how her body feels when she gives me a hug, just in case I never get a chance again. As I tell her I love her and that I hope she has a good day, I say a prayer that it isn't the last time that I get to say those things as she walks away from me. Gun violence is the #1 cause of death for children in America. That's thousands of parents who never get to hug their children again, who never see their children graduate from high school, who never get to have grandchildren. Thousands of lives cut needlessly short because someone had access to a gun who shouldn't have. So when I heard that a weapons manufacturer was advertising itself by donating t-shirts and stickers with their logo on it to an elementary school fundraiser, I was appalled and angry. Guns, advertising for guns, and the companies that make them have no business being anywhere near an elementary school. Let me be very clear. It does not matter who donated the items, what their connection to the company is or is not, or how long the items have been donated. It is wildly inappropriate to advertise a gun manufacturer with t-shirts and stickers at an elementary school. Period. I understand that Fluvanna County Public Schools cannot by itself solve the gun violence epidemic, but I would hope that they could clear the extraordinarily low bar of not advertising gun manufacturers to their 6-year-olds. Thank you.
All right, anybody else wishing to speak? Robert?
My name's Robert Albrecht. I live in the Fort Union District. I just wanted to thank everybody for the wonderful start to the school year and all that. I had wonderful conversations with my daughter. Coming home, it's really been enjoyable. I know it takes a lot to put everything together, all transportation, meals, and everything. But so far, the start has been overwhelmingly. It's been joyful as a parent. As far as I don't even know about the situation. I don't think you have to have intimate details about. I don't even know. These people were serious about school security. I feel like they would have approached the board months prior about any concern. I've heard so many other concerns, but I've never heard anything about school security or safety or anything like that. If there's a culture issue, you know, people should deal with that differently or, you know, within their own realm. It doesn't need to go elsewhere. My son has all the light up shoes. My daughter will buy more. Never had the one thought in my mind about buying light up shoes because it might be a safety concern. I would really, I'd love if someone came forward with some issues of safety. The one thing I would say from the school shooting recently is if we're not advocating for more, we're not doing enough. If we're doing the same as yesterday, we're not doing enough. But I haven't once heard anybody come forward and say, hey, here's the issue here, someone's gonna get hurt. Never heard it. But I really want to thank you guys for, you know, everything that takes to put our kids in school, everything, all day. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Campbell?
My name's Kip Campbell, Fort Kenyon District. I'm gonna try to just quickly articulate clear up some facts or clear up some misstatements made by one of the previous speakers. We are, you know, I'm the person they're talking about, obviously. You guys all know me. A lot of people know me. We are not a gun company. You know, Red Arrow TV is a company that promotes hunting, fishing, trapping, and conservation and getting people involved in the outdoors. That's what we do a TV show, national TV show. That's what it's all about. I happen to own a gun company. The stuff that was donated were Red Arrow hunting TV show apparel to raise money. And, you know, we talk a lot about disagreements. And I think that one side is trying to silence the other side. So it's more of a authoritarian type of move, whereas, you know, if you have these certain values and beliefs, we want to silence your voice. Whereas, you know, that's not what we're all about, obviously. So as far as there was no thought of we're trying to promote a gun company. That's an absurd lie. And the only thing we're trying to do is support the public school system. That's it. And we're not trying to promote anything else, you know, other than that. We were trying to give an item that was valuable that many people would want to bid on to raise money for the school, and that was it. So, you know, you can get off in the ideological, and a lot of people on the other side are ideologues that have, you know, it's a cookie cutter set of responses. And I understand that people are going to have differences of opinion, and we can openly discuss that somewhere else. This is about promoting the, you know, or providing for the kids in our public school system. And that's the only thing that we set out to do. You know, as far as the gun debate goes, we have an epidemic in this country of mental illness. And like the gentleman said before me, you know, if we had a bunch of people driving SUVs through crowded playgrounds, we wouldn't ban, you know, Chevy Tahoes the next day. We wouldn't want to go out, you know, you work on uninventing technology. I'll go drain all the water in the pool so nobody drowns and make pool water illegal. That's how absurd the conversation is. If we want to talk about something that's actually going to do something, control gun violence, we need to talk about security for our schools, just like we would, like I said, if an SUV ran through the playground, we'd have barricades, you know, security officers, et cetera. So a lot of misinformation before me, but I think I figured it out.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Jamie Johnson, Columbia. I had no idea that I was gonna speak. But when I got the call, I felt like I needed to. I have been knowing Kip Campbell for pretty much since I've been in school all my life. I grew up with him. He has no idea that I was gonna come here today and support him. But I remember his grandmother sitting at the front of Fork Union School. So that's how far we go back. And our parents were also friends in school, so we go way back. And to hear these attacks was disheartening. And I'm trying to understand how we live in the country and not, you know, understand that these kids are going to come in contact with guns. They just are. I grew up in a gun household. My kids grow up in a gun household. We are in the country. We hunt, we fish, so on and so forth. I would let either one of my kids go with Kip Campbell and his mom at any time, point blank in the period, and feel fine. I am thankful to him and his company for donating. My kids do not go to Fluvanna. My son graduated from Fork Union and my daughter is in Open Door, but she will be transitioning. My question is, why are we not going to Kip and asking him, hey, maybe we can do some hunter safety or some gun safety, because guns aren't going anywhere. They're not, and it is your right to own one. And we're not gonna allow people to take that right away from us. We're not. And so I think perhaps we may need to utilize what we have in the community in a different manner. He's a wonderful resource. I don't know what time frame or whatever he has, but perhaps he's someone that could perhaps, you know, go to one of the community centers and do a gun safety course. We used to have them in Savannah. I don't know if we still have them, but my dad used to do hunter safety with my son fish, and he wants to do all these things. And so he immediately said to me, before I knew anything about this, Mom, who could I contact for some information? And we automatically thought about Kip. And so again, we live in a country, we live where these kids are gonna fish, they're gonna hunt, they're gonna come in contact with guns. What are we doing so that they know how to use a gun appropriately, or how to respond when their neighbors have a gun or when they see a gun? They need to have education about it. And I think that Red Arrow would be a wonderful opportunity to utilize them and do that.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else? There's another opportunity toward the end of the meeting. And with that, we will close our first round of public comment. We'll move on to reports from the superintendent, Dr. Gratz. And can I say thank you to everybody for keeping it respectful.
Thank you, Mr. Pullen, members of the board. So we have several items in my reports, and as always, I'm happy to address any of them. I'll just highlight for you, first of all, it's been a wonderful opening to the year. It's been really smooth, a lot of positive things happening in our schools. I've had the opportunity to be in them multiple times each week, and things are going really, really well. I appreciate your support as we began the year. We have parent-teacher conferences coming up. We've staggered them this year to try to accommodate parents at the secondary and elementary levels. We've done that both ways, and we typically try to follow the lead of our teachers and get a pulse on what the best way to engage with parents is. But that's coming up mid and late September for a couple of weeks. And if any of you would like to be involved in those, or just to kind of come through the schools, I'm happy to join you to do that. It's a great opportunity to interact with some of our parents. We've talked a lot about the changes at the state level, and I don't want to belabor this, but I do want you to know that the state board has finalized its revisions to the state accountability model. And there's a link here in my report. I encourage you to take a look at it. There are lots of changes, and you're aware I have strong feelings about many of them. The thing I just would highlight is that what we have now is an accountability model that tries to differentiate between, I won't say tries, it does, it differentiates between growth, achievement, and then readiness. And it does so at the three levels. So there are measures of growth, measures of readiness, measures of achievement that are used for the first time to give a overall summative score or a grade, if you will, to the school. And the thing I would just encourage everybody to take a look at, we're going to do an extensive dive in the October meeting, like we always do, into our most recent results and all of our data. And during that time, I suspect that we'll spend some time just making sure you're familiar with what's coming. But for anybody who's interested, who has kids in our schools, you know, I'll give you an example. Readiness at the middle school level, readiness for high school, right? Right now, we have a model that differentiates involvement at the middle school level in higher level math with readiness. And I don't suggest that it's a bad idea to have students, there are many students who need higher level math in 6th and 7th grade. I just have wondered, and I've voiced this from my ability to do so during this whole process. I don't think it gives adequate attention to the fact that there are students whose aspirations and their skills and their futures are going to require maybe less that they have geometry at age 11 or 12, and more that they had the opportunity to do the hands-on STEM class and the robotics class that we offer at the middle school level. Do we have to pick? We don't. I just want everybody to understand that that is one facet that right now the state will give the school a score on the extent to which we're funneling kids into higher level math. And it will not give the school a score based on how many kids we expose to STEM hands-on robotics education. That's just one example. And so I think more than ever, as we've talked a lot about our strategic plan and what we're doing moving forward, and I've been talking to you about that since I interviewed with you. We need to have a vision for what we want for our students in spite of what the state, and that's not meant to be disparaging of the state, but we need to decide what we think is important for our kids and to make sure more than ever that we're not being influenced by aspects of this model that don't line up with our vision for what we think is good for our students. That's all I'll say about it. If you want me to say more, it can quickly become a soapbox.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you believe that we will continue to be accredited under the new model? Are there certain components where you think that Fluvanna will fall short and that you've made peace with? Or is this an and, not an or?
No, I don't think there are any specific places where I believe we will not be accredited. I think there's areas where we may have a challenge. My concern, Dr. Kelly, just to be candid, is the accountability model and accreditation sometimes can put pressure on superintendents and then school leaders and then schools to do whatever it takes to get accredited. And I've seen that in the past too, if you were holding me accountable as a dad for what temperature my son is going to have tonight, and the stakes were high enough, I might be inclined to pack my son in ice for 20 minutes to make sure that he's got the right score on his temperature check, rather than be really concerned about good habits and taking care of him and overall health. The analogy is, I just want to make sure that we keep our eyes on what really makes sense for kids academically and socially. And I believe that in doing that, we're going to continue to be accredited. Did that answer your question?
It does. So fundamentally, we're talking about short-term kind of jumping through hoops versus long-term growth. Will you continue to bring to us circumstances in which we must choose between jumping through those hoops and making good long-term decisions for our students? If it ever becomes an or, can you be forthright and articulate to us, this is what we would do if we were worried about accreditation, and this is what we would do if we're worried about the long-term growth for our students, so that we can make those choices and articulate them transparently?
Yes.
Thank you.
And to be clear, I don't think those choices are going to have to be made.
And to be honest, I'm not gonna and you know, this is a public meeting, I can be quoted on it. I'm not gonna lose sleep over us losing accreditation if the things that we choose to do for our students are better for their long-term growth. Even if the state doesn't want to rubber stamp us.
Don't let me speak out of turn, but I believe that you have a board that agrees collectively to that exact same thing. And I know Mr. Kelly's exactly right. Someone will misquote potentially what we're saying. Not that we don't care about accreditation, but you're the expert. And I want to move everything out of your way so that you can do exactly what you know to do to make us, to provide to us what you told us you could when we interviewed you and your vision. And I really don't care whether it's this administration or the next administration, because all this stuff's gonna change again. So I would rather just stay focused on Fluvanna and what you know is best for us.
Thank you.
And again, it's literally gonna change again once people get reappointed and they reevaluate all this stuff, and we'll have this or y'all will have this discussion in 4 more years.
I'll note that these considerations and this inherent tension between state standards and accreditation versus long-term growth and project-based learning are exactly the reason why I was excited to work with this board to hire Dr. Gretz. And so that has not changed at all for me. So thank you.
You. Other aspects of the report there, I won't go through all of them, but there are a lot of projects that have been happening this summer and are continuing. The HVAC project that is carried with it some frustrations, but is continuing to happen at Carysbrook. We've got, of course, the Abrams renovation that you're hearing about, the turf and the track projects.
How about the vape detectors? If you're vaping, you're gonna get caught. So if you're watching, you're gonna get caught.
The
They
vape detectors are up and running and they're working. That's true. They are working. And so are the people who respond to those alerts. The renovations at Central Elementary are also, we're out to bid for that project. So there's a lot going on. I want to call your attention to something. It's actually not in my report, but it is attached at the bottom of the item in the board agenda. Josh, sorry.
Dr. Gretz, I have a quick question while we're pulling that up.
Yes.
Do we have an ETA on when the football field and the track is completely done?
You know,
There's a lot of youth football players that would love to get back to that.
yeah, I'm glad you asked that. So the turf is in great shape and has been played on and looks fantastic. The track, the base layer is complete. And I think the answer to that question, the goal is for that to be done, all of it to be done in time for the next home game, which is October 4th.
Dr. Gretz, Mr. Reed is probably referencing the middle school, which is where we were using that field.
High school. That's where
You,
typically play their games, but they've been reallocated to Charlottesville. So, and the reason why was because the track wasn't finished yet. So I'm just curious, that way we can keep Fluvanna and Fluvanna.
Yeah, no, I think there's a great chance that the track will be completed by that October 4th game. It's somewhat dependent on what the weather does between now and then, but assuming there aren't any sidetracks, I think it'll be done. And we're looking forward at that game. That is the Hall of Fame recognition, but it's also a time that we hope to do some recognition of the folks you included and the supervisors, county administration that really pulled together to help make that possible. Not just to fund it, but to keep it on track. There was a special meeting, as you know, that was called at the county level to address problems that they found when they pulled up the first layer. And it's exciting. It's a great facility and we're looking forward to using it in October. What I wanted to call your attention to was this predates me, but my understanding is that the board wants to have very special consideration anytime students are going to be surveyed. And so we're proposing to work with George Mason University. George Mason, I guess, is asking us to conduct some research that is spelled out in a one-pager that's attached. And I'm not going to read that to you here, but also you can see the survey instrument itself. This would, and what they're hoping to do is to identify some of the ways that students who are part of the Sources of Strength program, and if you remember, that's in place at the high school and the middle school. It's a program that we've done in collaboration with Louisa and Nelson. And they've come in and done presentations for you and you've interacted with the kids. So what they want to do is give those students an opportunity at the high school in that program, if they choose, to indicate that they would be interested in participating in this study. And if they are interested, and if you approve it tonight, it's not an action item, but if, based on your feedback, they would take a consent form home. The parent would have the opportunity to read through the questions, to see the study. And if they signed off on the consent form, the student would then fill out the questionnaire and be involved in the research. So I'm highlighting it for the purposes of you having the opportunity to read through this, not because you asked me to, but my understanding is that there have been past conversations about this.
Yeah, under a previous superintendent we had, I can't remember the exact example, but there was a concern for surveys.
Sure.
And we wanted to make sure that we saw them before they went home. And we also wanted to make sure that we had the parental consent before they were, even after we saw them, we want to make sure that the parents consent.
Sure. That makes sense. So this is a study that would be offered to members of the club, which in and of itself, it's a voluntary club. But members of the Sources of Strength Club would be given the opportunity to participate in this if they so choose. If they did express interest, they would have to get consent from their parent. You and every member of the public can see the questions that they would be asked. Parents would see them. And I think it's a good idea to participate in the research. Nobody's compelled to do it. Nobody's forced to do it. But I think the purpose of the research is important based on some of the conversations we've had related to discipline, anxiety, some of the things that students are seeing. So I think it would be valuable. Do you have questions for me about it or any concerns? With that, I'll just leave that there.
I have two things, the unrelated to this last item.
Yes, sir.
So one of them is just clerical. So if we anticipate 5 board members or a majority rather appearing for the track and field dedication, to the extent that we can advertise it to let folks know that we will be collected together, and that there won't be official business, but to the extent that we find it appropriate to and or legally necessary to notify the public that a majority of members will be together, then I would ask that this board consider it. There have been a couple of situations where I would have felt better had we notified in advance of a public gathering. And I think that we do a good job after photo ops and such of kind of dispersing. And I'm pretty mindful of that, but I suspect we would all be better off with public announcements.
I guess it's no surprise that I agree with that.
Sure.
I'm always concerned with having.
Happy to do that. We'll make a note of it. You don't have to do it when you're not doing business, as you noted, but there's no danger in doing it, so.
My issue is the perception of business.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
I just would much rather let the public know.
So to be clear, am I waiting to hear who's attending and then we'll do it? Or do you want me to go ahead and send something out just saying you've been invited?
I'm attending
This is the October 4th date.
Yes.
October 4th.
That's my
Okay, so at least 3. So we'll do it. Thank you, Dr. Kelly.
Sure. And the second item, you know, I was struck by the public comments on both sides of issues, to the extent that it is practicable. I wanted to understand a little bit because I feel like I had imperfect information this week as I tried to dive in a little bit. Can you talk me through a little bit about our policies as it relates to what information is shared within schools, and then also how we manage and curate things that are donated to the schools? I don't know if it's the case that we have a policy at all related to what donations can come forward, And I am in no way, I think that, you know, things I heard this week include things like, well, what if something was donated and it had logos for, I don't know, Smirnoff vodka, or what if somebody donated to be sold Joe Cool, like Joe Camel or something like a tobacco company, right? And I think that there are useful analogies that make me think, okay, well, what is our policy, and what is it, or what is the threshold at which we as a school would not accept something to be raffled? And so I would like to hear more about our policies and the way through which in which we might moderate things.
Absolutely, Dr. Kelly. I'm happy to speak to that. And so what I'll begin with is when it comes to items that would be donated to a school event, and I know that right now what's on most people's mind is the Fall Festival at Central Elementary. And the events that we're talking about really are a silent auction. People are invited to bid online on baskets or items that have been donated. And in past years, I don't think this year, but in past years could have involved a raffle as well. And my understanding is that depending on what the item was, if a store gave a gift certificate in an envelope, that might be part of a raffle. If there were a few items, that might be part of a basket that would be in a silent auction. There is not a policy. There's no school board policy that, I feel like I'm looking at the TV, that addresses
Sorry.
that donated to a school function like that. Doesn't exist. What we have been advised to do, what I've been advised to do, and in any case like this, you know, because I've shared with you, but I'm always working with your legal counsel on issues like this. Advised to use the distribution of materials and information policy and the community use of facilities policies, because they both speak to, they provide guidance that enables us as a school division or a school in a case where there's a school-sponsored event that is open to the community, meaning not just open to the community to attend, but open to the community to participate, open to the community to have groups who say, I'd like to set up a booth at the back to school bash that we just had at the high school. Open to community groups who might say, I want to participate in the silent auction and help raise money. We're going to donate items. If it's open to the community, if it's school sponsored, the school board doesn't have a policy that governs those things. And we have been advised that if it's open to the community, we're not to vet the content of those things. Certainly not based on our personal preferences. And whose preference would it be? Would it be mine? Would it be the school board's? Would it be the majority of emails that we get? We've been advised to use the guidance in those two policies because they provide a framework by which the schools can, I'm using the term vet, but can evaluate the content in a way that maintains some level of control over what comes in, but still respects equal access and First Amendment issues related to an open event like that. So those two policies, and neither of those policies are written, I don't want to be redundant, but they're not written, the distribution of materials policy is not written specifically for items that are going to be donated to a school event. They're written for when a community group or when an individual comes in and says, hey, I've got these flyers, or I have this opportunity, there's a event at a local community center, whatever it is, would you distribute this to your students? Or would you distribute this to your parents? Would you use your school avenues of communication to send this flyer home? So you have a policy that governs that. And we've been instructed to use that as we consider donations that are included to event. Likewise, the community use policy. So if a community organization goes through the policy, goes through the procedure of renting one of our facilities, fill out the paperwork, get it approved, they pay the fee, and they use the facility, there are equal access and First Amendment issues that come into play if, as a school, we start deciding, well, I want that group to use them, but I don't agree with that group, so I'm not going to let them use the school. They're either allowed to use it openly or you go by the policy. And so those are the two policies that we've been advised to use. I can keep going, but let me just stop there. Does that answer your question, or are there more?
I mean, I think that's a good start. One bit is, could you include those specific policies in the public packet so that people can find them easier? Mostly because I want to make sure that the public discourse is informed and that we're all pointed in the same direction when we're talking about difficult issues.
When you say,
So,
Dr. Kelly, where do you mean to put them?
just like as an attachment or as like in the board docs, so that if people are looking for those specific policies, that there are, that since we've referenced them and we're talking about them, just so that they are easily available. Sometimes board docs can be difficult. People tell me they have difficulty finding my contact information or a particular document. So to the extent that we can make it easier for folks. So let me ask a follow-up question. So, I think there's a head shop at the corner of what, 15 and 250. I forget what it's called, but I know that I drove by one day and I saw, I think a giant blow up joint or something. If they had a basket that had their logo on it, what would be the would that just be included in the silent auction?
I think that we'd go through, well, I know we'd go through the same process of evaluating it against the guidelines that are in those two policies. And I'm honestly, Dr. Kelly, I'm not prepared to do that on the fly, but if you want me to, I'll pull them up and I'll do it. But I want to be given the opportunity to take my time and do it.
No, I wouldn't force you to do policy and legal evaluation in real time.
I'll keep chatting, by the way. To make this very clear for about the fifth time, the logo that is involved in a donation basket is not the logo of a gun manufacturer. I can't say that any clearer to the community in all the different mediums and platforms that I have conveyed this so far. That should answer the question that we're all really dancing around right now. A gun manufacturer has not donated to the Fall Festival at Central Elementary School.
Okay, let me rephrase my articulation here then. If it was a YouTube channel of somebody who was smoking a bong, and then that logo was on a t-shirt.
Prior to tonight, because I'm just curious, we're starting to really deviate away from this agenda that we have for tonight's meeting.
I'm so terribly sorry. I'm asking policy questions that I think are relevant to the public discourse and to what we're all reading on the internet and what we heard in public comments. And I think my goal here is to have a framework so that the public understands the ways through which donations are evaluated. I understand that it may be unseemly or uncomfortable, but I'm focused on the policy implementation.
Well, in the slightest.
Okay, so let's wrap this up.
So we don't so I think what I'm hearing is we've been advised to use those policies, but that we don't currently have a policy related to refereeing or evaluating donations from individuals or corporations. How do other school divisions handle this?
Mr. Kelly, I think you're asking questions that nobody was prepared to answer.
Yeah, I'm talking about them, Dr. Kelly, but I honestly have not dealt with this specific situation in any of the other divisions where I've been. And I don't doubt that they have procedures. I suspect they're probably very similar to ours. And I can, but I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I think it would be useful. What I'm trying to do is just make sure we understand sort of the process through which these decisions are made and through which things ultimately get donated or sold, and ultimately who is the decision maker. These things are incredibly relevant. I haven't made an evaluative judgment on anything. This is about policy, which is ultimately important, especially when folks in the community are excited by things on multiple sides. It's important that we understand what measuring stick we're ultimately using.
Yes, I understand you've been out of the country for a couple of weeks, but there's been a lot of conversation around this privately,
Oh,
publicly. So I'm just catching you up to speed since you said you hadn't been.
no,
able to-
I'm intimately familiar. I've been on social in the last couple of days here, and I've only been out of the country about 5. And yeah, there is a lot of public discourse, and I think that some of it is ill-informed, and my questions are aimed at closing those information gaps.
I have closed that information gap about 9 times now. So just,
Are we,
I think we're at a good point to move on, Chair.
everybody good moving on to, Dr. Gretz, you have anything else under your reports?
No, not unless there are other questions or other items that you'd like me to.
I was like, we're gonna move on to VSBA policy updates, first review.
So there's several policies that we have for first review. The only one that I think has any substantive changes is the small purchasing policy. And I don't know, we even need to pull it up, but it does assign, goes from $200 to $300. And there are 3 different buckets by which you evaluate your small purchases. The others are all just either legal reference changes or semantic changes. Nothing else that I feel the need to highlight for you, but you've seen them, you've had them. If you have questions, I'm happy to pull them out and we can talk about them.
Travel.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why don't you do that? Do you mind teeing that up? I'm so sorry because we added that later.
So we,
Could you pull up the last one, Mr. Gifford, the travel reimbursement
The-
policy?
the policy, that's the one, policy's the one right above that one. Thank you. So we
So glad you said
recently
that.
had an audit, and in the audit, we found that we had, in our policy, we had a statement saying we had a certain cap for meals. And we had reimbursed someone over that cap, and it was literally by like $1 or $2. And the issue is because it was a specific dollar amount, they were saying, well, you violated your own policy, but in an effort to try to clean this up, what we've done is linked to the federal guidelines for meal reimbursement so that when those amounts shift, they automatically shift instead of if you have a policy that's older and you don't go back and change the dollar amount periodically, then you're gonna find that you're out of compliance. So we're trying to clean that up, and so we've linked that policy to the federal meals reimbursement. And we've got that link there with the per diem for that. And that also allows for, that government site also allows for different areas of Virginia. Because you might be able to get a meal in Charlottesville for less than you could get a meal at Virginia Beach. And so it kind of varies the dollar amount depending on where you are in the state. We do require people, and we've always done this, if there's a meal as part of a conference that they're going to, then we don't reimburse for a meal because you already had lunch or whatever. If you choose to go get lunch on your own, that's fine, and you pay for it yourself. And then we changed the travel form to just have that same link on there so that we can be on top of those per diem rates as they shift around. Do you have any questions about that?
Thank you for remembering that. It's so important.
We are now on to the fiscal year 24 budget update.
So this is the, where we see ourselves right now. I think we might have 1 or 2 requisitions that are outstanding. They're not a substantial amount, maybe $200 or $300 that'll come off of this. And then you'll see that the expenditures per category, kind of how that shakes out. When we go to the next page, those are the supplementals that we did throughout the course of the year with all the different grants and things. The following page is probably the one of greater interest to you. We have a pointer.
Try that.
Thank you. Actually, I don't even know if Oh, yeah, okay, great. Okay, so the thing I want to point out, because when you look at the first page, you're like, oh, we had $5.4 million left, we got plenty of money. In reality, that's not the case, because all of these are balances that you had remaining in different grants or funding that you didn't get that basically have been backed out of your fund balance. So like we didn't spend all of the all-in money. So the money actually came in and it's sitting in the bank account, but it's not part of our revenue because we didn't do the expenditures. The big one that is there's a couple big ones here that we've talked about multiple times. One being the that school construction grant. We've talked about that. That's your part of your Abrams money that's sitting in the bank account. The county actually already has that money. They've got it in the bank account, but it's not part of this whole revenue budget because you haven't had the expenditures. But the big one is this change in state revenue right off the top. So basically, we ended up getting $1 million less than what we had anticipated. And you'll remember last year that there was just so much back and forth with how much money we were going to get. And we got an allocation in October, which was actually after we had started budgeting. And then that money's then also got changed throughout the course of the year. And we had a lower enrollment than we were projecting as well. So that's where that $1 million comes off of the top of that as well. So we had $5 million, a little over $5 million in revenue that we did not get. Some of that's being reappropriated in the supplemental appropriations, which is this $3.2 million here. So if you go down to the very bottom of that, I'm projecting the fund balance is going to be about $425,000. We're all said and done, which I'm pleased with.
Well done.
And it's in black, not red.
It was a very difficult year.
This was a really challenging year to do this for sure. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding this.
Process.
I got two things.
Go ahead, Dr. Kelly.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I have a bit of a delay, and so I apologize if I'm speaking over anyone. So first, I just wanted to commend Ms. Grasser for what you're doing. You know, in business, sometimes we use the phrase sort of building the plane while you're flying it. And I think the right analogy here is like shedding plane parts as you're flying. What can we do without? What can we do without in order to keep things kind of moving forward? And the fact that we can lose that amount of money over the years or throughout the year and end up with far less revenue and still end up with anything in carryover balance is just absolutely incredible. So hats off to you on that. Could you remind us the schedule for carryover requests? During which of our school board meetings must we vote to ask the county for carryover funds in order to have them considered?
Typically, the county asks me for carryover requests for their November meeting. So I would think that you would want to have a discussion in October about what you might want to do.
Yeah.
Got you. And I'll remind my fellow board members if you don't, my memory isn't great all of the time, but during the budget season, we were asked by the Board of Supervisors to articulate our continued need for bathroom renovations at Central through the carryover process, that they didn't want to include it in budgets, but asked if we could do it piecemeal. And I know, and I want to articulate my incredible thanks for the spot money that we received in order to finish our track project. And I'm aware that that very well could impact our ability to receive carryover, but in good faith in terms of getting through the bathroom project, I would hope this board would consider making that request of the county.
One more thing I'd like to point out on this one is you see a line in here for security grant, and it's kind of strange because I've got like a lower amount and then a higher amount for carryover. trying to piece this all together, I think in June that the state had more revenue left at the end than they anticipated, and they kind of did a final allocation for security grant. And they put it in our end of year money that we received, our June 30 money, with the intention that we would carry it over to use it for projects for this year. So that's why you see that 77,000 there. And then they also, so we got about $33,000 that was a supplemental appropriation from the state that for this year. We got this $77,000, and then another pot of money came from the federal government for security. So you're gonna see when we go to 25, like 3 different things that we're getting for security grant. It is incredibly confusing. One of them has a spend deadline of 9/30, which I think we're on track for that. Another one has a spend deadline of December 24, and then another one has a spend deadline of June 30. So it's just a lot to manage. And we, I just was frankly so confused, and I was like emailing the state going, can you tell me what this is? And so it's very, some of those things have been very complex for sure. But we can go to 25 unless you guys have any more questions.
I think we're good. Let's go on to the fiscal year 25 budget update.
So this is where we are at this point. We've run true July payroll. So just our 12-month people are in July, and then we've run the August payroll for all of our 10 and 12-month staff. Excuse me. I think I'm allergic to y'all because I never cough till I'm standing up here. So I think we're pretty much on track with where I see payroll running and those sorts of pieces. One of my concerns is when you look at the attendance report that's in the superintendent's report is we're running low on enrollment. And the biggest grade that we're running low is kindergarten. I had thought I think we have like 207. I had projected we would have around 240 based on kind of what we were seeing last year. We do have some pickup in the other grades, but then we also have some grades that are down. And so it's just kind of continuing to keep an eye on that. If we continue to see that pattern, which right now I'm thinking we're pretty locked in, usually after Labor Day is when we know this is probably what we're going to have. Then I'm going to have to look at some of the expenditures and kind of pull back some to make sure that we don't have a shortfall in state revenue.
I would expect that next year will be even lower because it's just another private school that's opening. And the more, and I'm not opposed to this at all, but the more small schools that open, and especially taking kindergartners.
Sure.
The lower our enrollment's going to be.
It's definitely easier to do a K-5 school than it is to do a K-12. And so that's part of what you see. But it just kind of keeping an eye on that. Of course, kindergarten's always the great unknown. We don't know. And parents can hold their kids out a year longer before they even start kindergarten. And some people choose to do that. So it's just something to kind of keep an eye on. We did do some shifting and staffing when we kind of saw this pattern because we had thought we were going to hire additional kindergarten teacher, and we did some shifting around. So I think we're in good shape in that way. But just so you know that I'm kind of keeping an eye on that at this point, just to be sure.
Ms. Grasser, do we know when Colonial Circle will ultimately start opening housing?
I don't know. I hear different things. One of the things that we've seen as a pattern so far is that the people that are moving in there are moving in there from another part of the county. So far, the people we picked up aren't new to Fluvanna. They just moved from somewhere else to there. So I don't know what will happen as we progress, but that's kind of what we've been seeing as a pattern right now.
A lot of houses up under construction right
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, we really don't know what to anticipate.
Yeah. And we've been looking at bus routes and those sorts of things to see if we were gonna have to make some adjustments there, but that's just kind of where we are. If you go to that next page, or maybe it's not a next page, but another, I'm sorry, it's another, yeah, thank you, another handout. So this is a breakdown of the supplemental appropriations we requested from the county. These are non-local carryover requests and supplemental appropriations. And if you go to the next page of this, you see all the breakdown of all the different grants and whether they're supplemental or carryover and the different grants that are there. We still haven't received our Title I allocation, so I'm probably gonna have to go back with a supplemental for that. And I think we also have to do one for Title IV for a supplemental because they gave us more money than we were projecting at the beginning. These are always a little bit tricky because they'll tell us, they have to tell us about a certain timeline, what they think they're gonna give us, and then in September, they change it. And so then you're kind of adjusting it as you go along. And the decrease in the ESSER 3 is just that we spent more money in fiscal year 24 out of ESSER 3 than I had projected when I built the budget. And so that's where that difference lies. Do you have any questions about fiscal year 25?
No, ma'am.
I do. So we're tracking behind on student population right now. What are
Yes.
the areas that we would ultimately cut in our budget in order to accommodate the decreased revenue?
Well, we've
What are
already
those
made
like
some
pockets?
sweeping changes to accommodate for that. But really, I mean, once we do the staffing that we can do, the only other things you can do are your materials and supplies and other supports like that. That's really the only other thing that you can cut.
And honestly, it's a good question, Dr. Kelly, but I think it's too early to
Yeah,
really identify
Yeah.
these things very specifically.
That's a fine answer. I was just curious about the sort of categorical, and I think Ms. Grasser gave a lovely answer to that. Just as we progress, I'd like to kind of see how we're tracking against it so we can be aware of those particular areas. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, on to fiscal year 26 budget update.
I don't have anything here, but in your packet, you have the, for action item is the budget calendar. And I would ask if we're gonna do an October seminar date that you kind of nail that down tonight so that we can plan for that.
Get your calendars out. Mr. Kelly, get your calendar out.
It's out.
All right, I know that Mr. Shivling isn't here, but we have a division capital improvements plan, first review. Saw the email. I think everybody got the email.
So is it the board's desire that I go through those or do you want me to just respond to questions, or you've seen it, it's in there, I can do either? Or any.
We've seen it so many times. Does the board have any questions for Dr. Gretz?
Only question I have is about the locker room, it says 2025. That's on the CIP.
Yeah, let's I'll spend a little bit of time on that. And if you want to pull that up, that would be. Well, honestly, I don't know that you need the pictures. So you know that we've been navigating for the past, say, 10 months, conversations about what we're experiencing at the field house, and it's specifically in the fall, although it could be in other times. And the difficulties that we're having, and this is just factual information based on my historical knowledge, or that my being told historical knowledge prior to me being here. I think the field house that we have was initially designed to be 2 stories. And for whatever reason, whether it was cost savings or another, it was turned into 1. And so right now we have a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that we've never had more kids coming out for sports in the fall, which shows engagement, I mean, that's very positive. 110 kids coming out for football, upwards of 60, 70 to 80 kids coming out for field. The problem is that the facilities down there don't allow for both teams to access during that season. And the facilities that exist in the high school, because of the facilities at the high school, locker room facilities I'm talking about, their size and what they can and can't accommodate, and where the laundry is being done, it's virtually impossible to have a situation where football doesn't use the facilities down where the field is. And I can, my preference would be for me to be prepared and have people come in and actually do a presentation for you about that. But essentially it involves them having to cart equipment down, bring it back up to be laundered, get it and take it back down. And it just doesn't make sense. That said, we do have some concerns, and these are concerns that have been generated within the community, but they're also concerns that we've uncovered with legal counsel. And it's not, I'm not suggesting that, you know, the board's attorney has said you have a Title IX issue. I am suggesting that based on those conversations, we need to be moving towards a solution. And so the one that has been coalesced through the CIP committee, and I haven't been in all those conversations, but there's representatives of the board, there's representatives from the community, is to build another facility down there that can enable both teams and really any teams as they continue to expand. Because like we said last month in that presentation, our programs are expanding. We're adding students. So I don't know how far you want me to get in the weeds on that, but this is what is right now being proposed. And you can see the cost estimate that we've gotten from the architectural firms on what it would cost to do a field house. Those square footage costs don't include, as it indicates, they don't include anything that might have to be done to the land. Plumbing work, things like that. But this is one solution that has been coalesced through your advisory committee to address that. And I think there's probably a larger discussion to be had in the future. I do think there would be a presentation that we would make at some point, but let me stop there and.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right.
I've got a question on this too. Y'all know I'm a diehard athletics guy. So this might come a little bit of a surprise, but there's a whole lot of athletics projects in here. I also know they need to be done. Listening to the folks here tonight who have expressed concerns about school security. We have metal detectors in here. Metal detectors are geared towards athletic events for this. Where are we at with things like that for addressing those kind of issues?
Yes, sir. Great question. And if you keep scrolling, you'll get to it. So we looked at the open gate detectors last summer. They came, they installed them at the high school temporarily so that we could see how they worked. We had members of the sheriff's.
Is that the Raptor?
No, that's these.
What's the Raptor?
The Raptor is like the check-in system you go to.
Raptor is
They
the,
send us emails every day. I get confused. Okay, got it.
so that's the security clearance that happens. These are metal detectors. They're portable, but when you install them, they're pretty stationary, but they can be taken up and taken other areas. So we looked at these, they came and they did a demonstration. We had local law enforcement come, and we initially asked for, you know, that each year the state releases money that we can apply for through the school security grant. And we asked for 9 pairs of these so that we could have them in all the exterior doors of the high school and most of them at the middle school. And they could be portable so that we could, if we wanted to, take them down to the athletic facility and use them there. We were unsuccessful in securing that grant, unfortunately, so the committee has recommended, and I agree, we put them in the CIP. Our thought about, so 4 pairs is 8 of these. Our thought is to begin with a pilot at the athletic facility, understanding that they are portable and can be moved for a couple of reasons. One is there's a staffing consideration with these. You can't just install them at the front of the high school, just leave them there and have people come in. We know that from the demonstration. I also know that because we went to see them in action in Louisiana. Somebody has to be there with them all the time. And there's a few reasons for that. One is there's some items that have to be passed around. Chromebooks, for example. Every kid has a Chromebook. They can't go through these. 3-ring binders a lot of times because of the metal will set them off. And so once that happens, it's very smooth, but there is somebody that has to be there at all times where students are just kind of handing things across. There's also somebody that has to be there throughout the day if they're really going to be functional. If a visitor comes in, a parent, anybody else comes through the door, we buzz them in and they go through these. If something goes off and somebody's not there to say, hey, wait just a minute, can we see what's in your bag? They're really not serving any purpose. So security, the timeline of your CIP projects to be submitted to the county and your process of coalescing a budget don't coincide in such a way as for us to solve the staffing issues at the same time as we submit the CIP request. So we're hopeful that if we can secure these, put them in use where there are already people staffed and paid to be at the entrance of the sporting facilities to use them. We can pilot them. We can generate support for them based on how they're working, and maybe that would help us secure more in the future for the other facility. That's my best response to that right now.
Yeah. Is there an ETA on when we may be able to look at? I mean, I know we've got to get through a pilot program first if that's the route we go, but next year, 3 years, I mean, I know we're looking at like through a 2030 plan. I'm just curious. I mean, hearing security all over the place tonight,
Yeah,
and
I
love sports, but there's a whole lot of sports stuff in the CIP plan that.
Sure. No, I think, I mean, anytime we can get them, we can start using them. I do think that there's probably a budget discussion because there aren't enough people who have the ability to sit at these that we could staff them adequately without probably at least paying a stipend, or we just have to look at that. So I don't think that's something I can do outside of the budget process. And in terms of buying them, there's the CIP process. There's another round of security grant funding that we can pursue, but outside of those, I don't know any other way for us to get our hands on them.
And I just really don't understand how the state determines who gets what in that security grant. It just seems kind of all over the place to me.
I don't either.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple on CIP. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. The first is, and this may very well need to go into ultimately into closed session for safety reasons, but I would like to hear more about and see some relative pricing on alert IDs. We know from the shooting that happened in Georgia, was it 8 days ago, that some of the staff have IDs with panic buttons on it. And to the extent that we are serious about school safety, that's one of the things I would like to hear more about and consider. On buses, I see that we only have 3 buses per year in the plan, and that may very well be perfect when we're operating about 61 buses right now, but I want to ensure it felt a little light to me, given we have all of these kind of years with 0 buses, and then one year we got like 11 or 12. And so, you know, the ideal format here, I think I can speak for myself and also the Board of Supervisors in terms of predictability, would be that whatever number of buses we ask for in a given year be consistent and predictable, such that if we have a replacement cycle, whether it's 15 or 20 years, whatever our standard is, that we should be replacing an even proportion of that, specifically 5% every year if it's 20 years, or I'm not going to do math today, but what was it, 7.5 or something. for 15, and 3 feels a little bit light. And so I just want to make sure that we are setting ourselves up to have a consistent replacement cycle that, yes, we're going to need to work through some of the high years and the low years, but ideally we would be asking for the same number of buses every year so that we remain consistent and predictable, especially when we still have 12 buses without AC. I want to make sure that these years aren't particularly light. And if they're light, that they are light for specific reasons or projects. And then also I saw, as it relates to the field house, and granted, this is, you know, Dr. Stribling had informed me about putting this on the CIP some odd weeks ago as we were kind of working through track issues. And I do believe that it is ultimately down the road, we're going to need something there. And so I want to make sure that we are balancing that against other needs, and that the things that we are asking for in the CIP are in fact needs and not just wants. So I think some further discourse on that is useful. All of that aside, I saw that the recommendation here was a prefab metal building, which is a sort of a different aesthetic from what we have on our existing field house. And so I was just curious why that was the recommendation as opposed to brick, and whether or not it's just simply a cost issue.
I think, Dr. Kelly, those are great questions and suggestions. I think it's a cost consideration, understanding that there's a separate facilities committee, and I don't necessarily attend all of those meetings, so I don't want to speak for all those committee members. And I don't want to put anybody on the spot here tonight, but
No, I don't need answers immediately for them, but you know, these are things that are going to be top of mind as I intend to advocate strongly for the school's CIP requests, as I do every year. I just want to make sure that I am sufficiently informed and can answer those questions when I ultimately go up the hill, down the hill.
It will be different. I do think it can be done. We've looked at a few of them. It can be done in a way that's aesthetically attractive, but it's certainly not going to match the brick structures that are down there, as you noted.
Sure, and that was the very last item I asked you about because it is the absolute least of my concerns, but it was still a relevant question.
Yes, great question. And you know, the last thing I'll note, the fifth part, it's just, it's interesting, the things that you uncover even after decades of doing this. It's the first time this past summer that I've dealt with bats in a building. I'm happy to report they're gone. But we have and maybe everybody in here knows this. I didn't know that the technical term for a group of buzzards is a committee. A committee of vultures have taken up their residence on the roof of Central Elementary, and they're picking the roof apart, and they are also a federally protected. So, you know, you can see the patching there.
Skunks and remember we had the skunks and Abrams we had to trap.
So, you know, I'm telling you that a little bit just to be lighthearted, but it's an issue. I mean, we have the patching on there, and it's important to get that done, but we'll be continuing to do some research on what to do with vultures, a committee of vultures.
Is any of that impacting solar panels in any way that we need to be worried about?
No, that's a great question. Right now, they're only going for the seams for whatever reason.
How generous.
There's some natural stretching that happens of those seams. And I don't know why that's attractive to them, but there's some raised portions that they pick at.
The things we have to do.
Let's talk offline. All right, anything else?
So these are, you have these in your action items to approve on first reading, just to be clear. Thank you.
All right. Is there any unfinished business for the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Any new business for the board? I don't know of any. James, any new business? Or excuse me, Mr. Kelly, any new business?
I do not have any.
All right, on to action items. 12A, approval of the division literacy plan.
I don't have anything new to share with you about this. Ms. Suarez presented it and we had some outstanding literacy specialists that were here to answer questions. If you want to go into anything here, I'm happy to entertain it. And I know Ms. Suarez is here as well.
Any board members have questions about the literacy plan?
Nothing's changed with it.
Before we entertain a motion? Of course, we can discuss it after we. All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the division literacy plan. If any board members would like to do so.
I move we approve the division literacy plan as presented.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the division literacy plan. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Question, all those in favor of approving the division literacy plan, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Sorry, I'm waiting because I know he's on a delay. All right, approval of the FY 26 budget calendar. Let's do this. We need to set an October date, correct?
That would be
Yes,
helpful.
please.
So before we can have discussion, we need to make a motion and and have a second so we can have discussion.
The other thing I'll just call your attention to, if I could, Mr. Chairman, I forgot, but in the last meeting, it was requested that we put together a side-by-side comparison so you could see where the overlap is with the other, and Ms. Kreitzer did that, and that's included in there. Just want to make sure you knew that was in there.
It's on the other one.
It's the
If
other.
you go down to the bottom, all the highlights.
What was the date in October, Brandy, that you had set for the meeting in question? Was it, what was the date that we discussed? Was it October, first Wednesday in October?
21st through 25th is what you had
I'm sorry. I have the wrong date.
sometime in that window. That, it doesn't have to be that, but that's what's in there now.
21st through 25th?
Yeah, if I may, we've historically, or at least every time we've done one of these seminars, we've done them in the daytime on a Wednesday, starting at 8:30 or 9. It looks like there is a Wednesday, the 23rd in that span. Is that,
Mr. Crasher, this is the meeting that you were alluding to earlier.
Yeah.
23rd?
happens to be a Wednesday? It's not a necessity, but it has been our pattern.
Okay. Works for me. I'm good. All right. I think we're set then.
Stick with the morning.
There you go.
It's 9 o'clock in, okay, great. 23rd.
All right, so we have that ironed out. Let's, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chair, but before you do so, can we talk about the conflict with the Board of Supervisors meeting on 2/5?
What was that? On February 5th?
Yeah, so I had inquired about overlap with the Board of Supervisors. As you know, some of us advocate after we've passed a budget to help the county and to ultimately try to secure the funds for the schools. To do so, we need to be sometimes two places at once. And so I'm curious about this 2/5 date and as to whether or not we could find a way to make it possible for members to attend the Board of Supervisors at 6 that day.
You know my feeling on it, but other board members?
You won't have you won't be presenting your budget to them until 2/19.
Mhm.
Although I know there's value in being at a Board of Supervisors meeting, they won't have your budget at that point.
Okay, so that's not a conflict on a specific budget. It just happens to be the same day as a supervisors meeting. Is that
Yes.
accurate? Okay,
Yes.
There may be
Then
items that have been discussed that you would want to address, but as Ms. Grasser said, there won't be a budget presented to them for another 2 weeks.
And your meeting's at 5. I'm not sure if that's a 7 o'clock meeting with them or a 5, so it's potential that there's not a conflict.
I think they moved their stuff to 6 instead of 5 or something. I forget. They've changed their schedule up a little bit this year.
Probably on that other page.
We're good with the 5th of February then?
Yeah, and what is the 4/9 date? Why is that one highlighted in yellow budget? So is that us? We have a meeting and it does conflict with the public hearing on the budget and the tax rate setting?
Yes.
So that to me is a more significant conflict. So how can we remedy that one?
Could we do our meeting early, like we have in the past, and then,
That's what we've done
Yeah.
before.
I would love to do that.
all right, so if their meeting starts at 7, we'll put a timeline on it, Dr. Kelly. And,
Yeah, that 4 or 4:30 and just as a start and then try to get out, assuming that others could make that. I know that
Mr. Key says 4, so let's go with 4.
sounds great.
And
So,
you'll be
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have the same discussion in January.
Yeah.
But-
Well, at least we can put a tentative stake in the ground. So to help this along, I'm curious if I might be able to make a motion that we adopt the fiscal year 26 budget calendar, including a 10/23 school board seminar at 9 a.m. And that we tentatively schedule our April 9th, 2025 meeting to begin at 4 p.m. to allow members to attend the Board of Supervisors if they so choose.
All right, I have a motion to approve the FY 26 budget calendar with 10/23, October 23rd at 9 a.m. being the school board seminar. And let me pause. Yes, ma'am.
Up to you all. I'm happy to be deferent.
Andre says yes. All right. October 23rd seminar at 9 a.m. and April 9th, regular meeting starting at 4 p.m. and closed session starting at 3. Is that correct, Dr. Kelly?
Yep, that is perfectly fine.
Sorry to interrupt. I just got Randy's message.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the FY 26 budget calendar with 10/23, make sure I'm correct here, 10/23 being the seminar at 9 a.m. and April 9th, regular meeting starting at 4 p.m., closed session starting at 3. All those in favor? Please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. All right. Approval of the division capital improvements plan for 2026 to 2029.
My question is just, do we lock into this tonight?
There's still a lot of flexibility.
This gets submitted to the county. The county has a process by which they coalesce.
And then it goes to, a lot of cases go to
The
planning,
planning commission.
and they're gonna rate it.
But to be clear, I think if the board's uncomfortable with it, now would be the time to address that, because it's not that you're locked into it, but you won't have an opportunity for at least a month to take more action on it, and they will be dealing with what we submit on behalf of you based on what you do here in a minute.
Anyone willing to make a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the CIP improvement plan for 2026 to 2029 as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? I just want to say that I do share Danny's concerns regarding security, and I know that there's a lot of things that are fluctuating right now, whether we will get those sooner rather than later, or how we need to fund them. I I still have concerns with metal detectors. We won't go into that publicly, but I do have some security concerns regarding the metal detectors and who you get to staff them. But also there's items that are probably a lot less expensive that you can use to block the doors in classrooms and stuff like that. And I mean, we got some carryover funding, and we'll have this very same discussion again next year with carryover funding, and I'd like to see us do something more to address that issue. I don't know how much it costs. I'm speculating, but sure. I like to continue having that discussion for sure. Is as safely as we can publicly have that discussion without going too far into detail. Any more discussion on that?
I'll just note that I intend to vote in the affirmative, but that I am going to spend some time with Dr. Stribling to talk about prioritization and specifically the field house. You know, we are our aim is to be predictable in the CIP and for things that that get added to it to be sort of more distant items. And in this case, we have a field house that is particularly expensive, that is such a priority that it's in, you know, the immediate term. And so that begs the question for me is that a must? Is that a now? And what are the things that we are doing without in the interim? And so I'm going to vote in the affirmative now so that others can rate and evaluate and have discourse. But I will be having some back channel conversations on that and hope to be able to articulate outcomes from that at our next meeting.
All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor of approving the division capital improvement plan for 2026 to 2029, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Chair votes aye. 12D, approval of the superintendent's contract.
I move.
To approve the superintendent's contract.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Key to approve the superintendent's contract. Do I have a second?
A second.
And a second. Is there any discussion? Keep in mind that the matters that you discussed is a personnel issue to some extent. So if you have any discussion, please consider that. Dr. Kelly?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just note that I'm always happy when we're able to issue new contracts to our staff, the leader included. And so I'll leave it at that.
We don't agree on everything, Dr. Gretz, but we all collectively agree on extending your contract. And we do so. I think everybody here is motivated to do whatever we needed to do to make that happen.
Appreciate that. I'm thrilled to be here, to be with you.
All right, so we got a motion and a second to approve the superintendent's contract, and that is until 2028. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. And we are done with action items, and we are moving on to our second round of public comments, where the expectations are the same as the first round. Any Fluvanna County citizen or employee of the Fluvanna County Public School System is welcome to speak, and the expectations are that you address the board, not individual members. You provide your name and voting district and address, that you do not exceed 3 minutes, and that you are respectful. The board will not interact with you during these public comments, but we will be here afterwards if you have questions for us. With that said, is there anybody wanting to speak during the second round of public comment? Anybody? Smith?
Before my timer starts, can I say congrats? I'm excited about that. You've always been wonderful to work with. Good news. My name is Tracy Smith. I live at Sandy Beach Court in Palmyra. 3 months ago was actually my first time speaking here. I was disappointed then, and nothing has changed. Quickly before I get started, my child texted me during that whole board member exchange and was really shocked at how that went down. So our children are watching. I'm a native of Fluvanna, a graduate, and I come from a family that has farmed and hunted here for at least a century, which most of this side of the room likely knows. I'm a gun owner. And while it's not like any of this or me trying to justify to some of you who I really am matters, but to set the record straight, I'm not a liberal, tree-hugging political operative. I'm not Antifa. I'm not any of the narrative that's been spun. What does matter is the way parents are treated for simply wanting a better and safer space for their children. Not all parents agree with this discussion tonight, and that's okay. School started a month ago, and there have already been 2 lockdowns or a drill of some sort at the high school. Students have twice been reminded of the reality of a very real risk they face just trying to get an education. It's a rational fear that not just students, but parents have every day. These students are weighing in on the Facebook posts. They're sharing them around, and it's not just the adults. Students that may not hold the same sentiments feel like they may not be able to speak up or have a voice for fear of retaliation from their own peers. Many parents are scared to come to these meetings for the same reason. This board has created a division in this community that needs to be mended fast. Like one of you, my spouse is a teacher, except they teach in a neighboring county. They drive 45 minutes to be treated with respect. Teachers in other divisions are talking about you. None of this attracts new talent to our schools, and the children are the ones who suffer for that. It doesn't matter how long policies have been in place or how long things have been donated. There are new board members, there's new parents, new PTO members, and whether people like to admit it in this county, and some do try to stop it, things do change. We should be constantly evaluating and creating policies to cover the board and to be inclusive to everyone. In closing, many families are capable of responsible gun ownership and educating their children with weapons. It's a conversation I've been having for 15, almost 16 years. But if the guns don't kill people crowd do agree that mental health is the concern, then maybe we can all agree that exposure or advertising at an event where potentially a child in our community who may be struggling with their own thoughts may be in attendance. Let's not contribute to the statistics. Let's look at the guidelines around donations and require better conduct from this board.
All right. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Madison Campbell, I'm from the Fork Union District. I just want to say first off, thank you to the board. You guys are doing a wonderful job, and I just wanted to reiterate one more time that the things that were donated are not promoting a gun company at all. It is a completely different company. It has no guns on the t-shirts that were donated, no guns on the t-shirts or the hats that were donated. It is not to promote the company, and it is not to promote gun violence. Thank you again to the board and to everybody who spoke tonight.
Saw someone else getting up.
I'm Ashley Crocker. I live in the Fork Union District. I didn't think that I was going to speak again, but I have a couple things to say. From all I've heard, Mr. Campbell is a great guy running a beloved business in the community. Nobody wants to hurt your business, and if I had to take a guess, you've probably seen an increase in sales the last few weeks. But if you're really about supporting the kids, write a check. Advertising your company at an elementary school is just not appropriate. To the woman who spoke about including gun safety and gun classes and gun locks in the basket, a community member did suggest that. But as soon as it was suggested, the Fork Union representative stopped responding to her after what had been a robust back and forth. Why, I wonder? Just because there are different tax ID numbers does not mean that companies are unrelated. They are owned by the same person. They sell many of the same products. One makes a TV show about guns, the other manufactures those guns. The TV show is basically an advertisement for the guns. We can have an argument about semantics, but don't try to paint your constituents as liars when you are the one telling half-truths and omissions. The Fork Union representative is a smart guy. You know exactly what you're doing.
Bowles.
Roger Bowles, 5520 James Madison Highway in Fork Union. Wow. Number one, thank you, Dr. Gretchen and board members for what you do. It's high time that the board has each other's back. Some of these things have nothing to do with Red Arrow. They have totally dealing with folks that were not happy with the newly elected Fork Union representative. They were after Mr. Pullen for a long time. Mr. Rittenhouse, Mr. Key, they could be coming after you. So I suggest very strongly that you guys get each other's back. And there's at least one board member that could speak up and have some backs that I haven't heard do that. And it's time for that to happen. The administration of the schools, that I served as a principal of a school, so I know what it's like. The principals don't have time to stop people in PTA meetings and stuff like that to get them under control. The principals are there to help make sure that school is run right, and the superintendent, he doesn't need, they've got bigger jobs. You've got bigger jobs to do than that. People are making accusations just because they're unhappy with the way things turned out. And before you make personal attacks, figure out who you're talking about. There's some real good people on this board, and it's high time that the county gets behind all of them. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Last call. Anyone else wishing to speak? All right. We will close the second round of public comments and we will move on to school board member comments. And Dr. Kelly, I'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. You know, obviously I'm happy for the start of school, and I was able to get into every building briefly, was it last Friday or the Friday before? And it was lovely. Things were working like clockwork. Kids were happy. The buildings were being run great. I was excited to go and watch our football team on the new field. I believe it was that same evening. And so I am thrilled to be and to serve in Fluvanna, and are loving the direction of our schools. I didn't love this board meeting in some ways. I thought that in particular, I think that people are super quick to be dismissive of others' opinions, or to think of them as inadequate or unworthy. And I think that there are some real concerns that parents have, and that we need to start from a place of understanding before we move immediately to dismissal. I'll note that I don't play on social media as much as some of my other board members, mostly because while it's a good way for us to communicate with our constituents, it very quickly becomes a place of despair and ugliness and wind tunnels. And so I don't partake of some of the more unseemly bits of social media, and I'll continue to reiterate, as I did during COVID and in every other instance, that no board member should ever be made to feel unsafe. I've heard that some might, and so I don't think that there is a place for that in public discourse. I think that we need to treat one another with empathy and respect, start from a place of best intent, and to ensure that nobody's safety is threatened. All of that said, I do also think that my line of inquiry was rushed during this board meeting. You all may not agree with my line of questioning as it relates to policies, but as I would not interrupt or try to push us along in a conversation just because I felt uncomfortable or didn't like what I was hearing. The people of Palmyra, and I'm sorry, I'm speaking. The people in the Palmyra district, I'm sorry, this is board member comments. The people in the Palmyra district deserve their representation, and it doesn't deserve to be silenced. And I also believe that I've earned the respect to finish my school board member comments without being interrupted. I really find that frustrating, and it really just emphasizes the point I'm trying to make. I expect better of my chair, and I would ask you to treat me with respect. Their smirk doesn't help anything. Honestly, truly, how hard is it to wait till I'm finished with my comments and to reply in your own?
Yeah.
What's that, sir?
I said I have a question for you when you finish.
This is board member comments and I'm finished. Thank you.
So may I ask a question? You served as the chair, you understand Robert's Rules of Order. We can set a timeline for debate in the future if you'd like. That's
I don't understand your
how it works.
argument.
And you can have 3 minutes and the other side can have 3 minutes and we can wrap it all up after that. Or we can let it go till it seems like it's not going anywhere and it's becoming disruptive and we'll end it.
Oh, you mean procedurally during that section?
We should actually set a time limit. I'm not saying we need to go there. I'm saying if we need to, if that's the question, that I'm not correctly running the meeting, then we can just follow Robert's Rules of Order and we can set a timeline for debate on every single issue, because that's technically what we're supposed to do.
I genuinely don't believe that my questions or the length of that discussion was problematic in the slightest. And
I don't think it's the length, James. I think when two board members start arguing and I don't see it going anywhere productive, it's time to stop, take a breath, and then we can have this conversation again. That's what I saw.
oh, I didn't need a breath. I had questions about policies, and as I was asking them, it seemed like it might be one of the most uncomfortable positions I've seen some of you all in, and I'm saying that these are relevant questions to public discourse, and it shouldn't be that hard to have them voiced. And so I don't cut you all off or demand that we quote move on or what have you. So I just think we can do better.
All right, Mr. Rittenhouse.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody on both sides for coming tonight. Appreciate your opinions, and I support Danny Reed and Red Arrow 100%. You're not doing anything wrong in my opinion. Now, that's my opinion. Everybody has one. But that's all. I'd like to get back to educating the children instead of all these issues. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I'd like to just thank staff, everybody for getting the school year off to a wonderful start. It was great to be at the football game on Friday, seeing everybody cheering for the Flucos on the new field. I appreciate everybody coming out to speak. I appreciate everybody's opinions. I just wish that we could work better together to come up with a better solution for our kids. The sad part that we have to realize that what we do is affecting our kids. You know, we are our mentor to our kids. So the actions that we do, our kids will replicate. So I just want everybody to take that into consideration. I will continue as a board member to work as hard as I can to get us on the same page. Thank you.
Mr. Reed.
Yep. Just want to say thank you for everybody that came out tonight. Appreciate the conversation being civil. Appreciate different opinions being shared. I'll just touch on playing on social media real quick. I do a lot on social media. I would not consider any of it playing. Like I mentioned in an interview I gave earlier today, I've been on social media very active, especially in video format, since I announced running for the school board in April of last year. Y'all can see my demeanor, you can hear my tone, you can feel, which there has been no aggressiveness in any delivery that has ever been provided. Because you can't feel that reading words through a screen. So if anybody has an issue with how I deliver my stance on a platform that is unrelated to the school and delivering on something this community has begged for, which is a transparent school board member who communicates very effectively with this community, there's gonna be a lot more of that communication coming. And because it's not gonna stop. That's what you guys want as Fluvanna County. That's what I want as Fluvanna County from our school board. I would love to see it from 5 school board members. I'm not calling anybody out here. I just think we can do a much better job collectively as a school board communicating. Now, I will say, I think there's a lot of agreement right now on people having different opinions and how we can agree to disagree. I will say when you're 18 months put through the ringer nonstop on social media, it's a little bit tough to acknowledge every single comment that comes in when you know who is behind that comment and some of the things that have been said very publicly about you from that person. And I would also like to share this. I've received 2 emails, and that's it, as it relates to this fall festival situation. If we really want to communicate about an issue, one of which was just saying, hey, we want to buy your basket because we don't want it at the fall festival. I don't really consider that a good conversation back and forth trying to figure stuff out. The other email was phenomenal. There were emails this long that went back and forth between me and that other community member. If we really want to get the details, I would recommend, and I'm creating more work for myself, but that's why I'm here. I would recommend us communicate with each other instead of bogging down our administrators. Our administrators, and I feel strongly about this, are not paid to play PR. They're not. If they are, that's a really high PR spot and high paid PR spot. I think we'd have a lot of people interested in getting paid that much to play public relations for Fluvanna County Public Schools. They are not able to be administrators in our schools when we deal with something like this. I would encourage everybody, whether we agree with each other or not, let's have that communication, but we can't just jump right to social media in the court of public opinion without even asking a question to a school board member first. I don't want to end on that. I want to end and just voice what some other of my fellow school board members have shared. The school year is off to a phenomenal start. Unfortunately, it's clouded by a lot of this conversation we have. And I would recommend that we all do everything in our power to get back to focusing on these schools and these kids, so that way we create the best environment for them possible, because it is really an awesome school system that we have. We just need to focus more on that. Appreciate you guys coming out. Thank you.
All right. So a couple questions were asked of me this past weekend. Again, I haven't received any emails either. So there's no emails for me to correspond with because I didn't get any. The only thing I got is Mr. Gretz forwarding me communication. And as much as my email would probably be FOIA'd, you guys will be able to see that. For me, the question about changing policy to censure school board members from communicating one way or the other is, maybe 3 board members want to have that discussion, but I think it'll be met with legal challenge. I know it'll be met with legal challenges. You can't censure a school board member from communicating a certain way, just like we couldn't do that to the citizens. It's their right just as much as it's your right. It's your right to say what you will on Facebook or whatever other avenue about us, true or not, that's fine. But it's also our right to respond, and to respond so in a way that we think is best. So for some people, that may be a video. For some people, it may be something else. But I remember, I want you to think back 8 years ago. We couldn't even get a board to agree to publish these videos or to have these live meetings. Remember that? It was across the board. When I came on this board, we don't want to have these videos live streamed, or these school board meetings live streamed. And we've come a long ways since then. I remember when I first started writing the notes and sharing them, everybody was happy, but a few people were angry. Don't share that. The public needs to be here if they want to know that. And we've come a long way to now we have people doing videos. So in the terms of transparency, it's better than it's ever been at least in my 8 years. And then prior to that, I've lived here my whole life. I think it's better in transparency than it's ever been. And sometimes I don't like a video. You don't like a video. It is what it is. For me, it's not really about Red Arrow. I would say that if you're familiar, since everybody's so familiar with Red Arrow, all of a sudden, I don't know if there's anybody in this room more familiar with me other than the owner, because I got a lot of money tied up in the firearms I've purchased. And I can tell you that prior to Red Arrow firearms or Red Arrow weapons, you were donating Red Arrow merchandise because it's Red Arrow TV. And for a long time, it was Red Arrow TV and then a weapons company. And I just thought about that earlier, and it's only been there for a couple of years. So again, you all may disagree with that, but at the end of the day, a decision was made, and we're going to move forward with that. But it's not about Red Arrow for me. It was more about, like, the people that sitting over here are like family to me. I mean, I'm looking at the guy that gave me the first loan for my pickup truck, the guy who I lived with when my mom and dad separated and I lived with for 16, 17, 18 years old, the guy that employed my wife, teacher, best friends. Like, you're literally attacking people in the community that are very close to us. And it's not always true. You know, it's half true sometimes, and sometimes it's not true at all. So if you elicit an emotional response from somebody, I don't know what else you're asking for. You're attacking people that literally, this is a family in our community that have been here for generations. So, and we're gonna defend them, whether I'm on the school board or not. I'm going to say something if you attack them, whether it's here, there, anywhere, especially if it's not true. So for me, it's not about Red Arrow, it's just about doing what's right and defending people that did nothing wrong and did not ask for this at all. They're just trying to help. So anyway, with that, I will be here. If anybody has any questions, I'll be here for a little while signing some paperwork after the meeting. And thank you all for being here. Thank you for keeping it respectful. And I'm glad that the meeting went as well as it did, honestly. Anything else for the good of the cause? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye, we are adjourned.